Hello again. I thought I would do a video on my telemaster, everything that I've done to it to get it to the point where it's at, and that way if any of you are building or have built a telemaster but want some new ideas on what you can do to make any changes, this may or may not give you a few ideas. I know from experience of flying this thing over the years, everything I've done is a positive thing. Really been a big improvement, everything I've done, except for the weight of the motor. The motor itself runs great, no problems there, but it's a home light motor and it's extremely heavy. So anyway, let's just start at the beginning. Like I said, it's a home light 25cc motor that was converted by Gary Troutman, or Dr. Toon, out of Texas. He did a wonderful job on it. Runs like a top. Paints the head to whatever color you want to match your plane. The prop is a, let me see here, well, I can't even read what size prop that is. 16.8. It's a 16.8 prop. Classic series. Let's see, working our way back. At one time I had a kill switch right there, which pushed a little thing, which is laying down in here now. I never did disassemble any of it. It would push on this and kill it. I had it on a separate switch, and then I had a manual switch right there, which is what I use now. The reason I disabled that servo is I needed a spare channel. My Futaba 7C is only 7 channel, and I needed a channel, and so I disabled that so I'd have another channel. I put a little cover on this. This is my feeler line, and I just put a little brad nail on the top of it to plug it when I'm not feeling. And then I just use a gas can with one of them little hand pumps to fill it. I'm running a 16-ounce fuel tank. Let's see, what else could I talk about up front? The primer bulb doesn't work on this. It's actually plugged off right here. What I do is I leave the power switch turned off, and then I just spin the motor and put my thumb over the intake, and that sucks the fuel right up, so that's like choking it. And anyhow, it goes real quick. Okay, moving back. Throttle servo mounted right there. A little triangle piece. Let's see right there. Which throws the linkage right up to the top. I did have to make a little bar for my throttle to go to. I'll work it so you can see what's that. Okay, now here's something that you don't see on most Telemaster. You can see this header board right here with the square notch. It's important. I'll show you what that's about. It's how my wings adjoin to the plane, and these two bolts right there, which is just some 3/16 aircraft grade ply, or maybe no, that's 1/4 inch aircraft ply, and some balsa shims just to finish it up, with some 1/4-20 bolts, big flat washers. Let me show you on the wing. I'll actually grab 1/2 of a wing here and show you how this all functions. Show you the wing so you can get an idea what I did. So I made a plywood piece that just formed to the wing, and then these little square tabs sticking out. Now, something else I've done, I better say now, is these planes come with a lot of dehedral built into them, the ARF. and it's great for a beginner, but once you advance beyond that, the dihedral kind of hinders your ability to do loops and rolls, mainly rolls, and I didn't like it anymore. I grew out of it. So what I did is, the angle that was on this face to give me dihedral, I actually squared it off, and before I put this plywood, which is again 1/4 inch aircraft grade ply, and then I made new wing spars that are flatter. They didn't have the angle. So now my dihedral, the wing isn't completely flat, but it's a lot less than what it was. So that being said, that's how the wing slides in, and then it bolts down, obviously through that bolt hole right there. And then your wing spars and your other wing slides in the same front spot. It's wide enough for both wings. And that's how I hold my wing in place, along with my struts, which these are 3/4 wide by 3/8 thick oak. And then I made little aluminum tabs out of some 3/16 aluminum flat stock, and I pinned it in the sides here. Going down to a, let me take this wing half off and I can tip the plane up. Going down to this bar going across, which is screwed up into another piece of oak for stability. Now I also made new landing gear. Now my neighbor right down the road from me has a real full-size Super Cub, and this is how his landing gear looked on his Super Cub. So I took a couple pictures and basically just took some 1/4 inch round bar and just started bending and fooling with it till I got the shape that I wanted. And the springs, there again, came off the idea of the Super Cub. They do help too. In fact, you push on this thing, those springs do make a difference when it's bouncing in rough terrain. I increased the width of my landing gear for stability. I'm going to set the camera down a second here and measure this. From outside of wheel to outside of wheel is 26 inches. And from the ground to the bottom of the belly of the plane is 8.5 inches. So that's quite a bit. Quite a bit of clearance, and that gives me extra width. The tires themselves are super squishy, just a foam tire. They were given to me by another friend who's a pilot in the aircraft world, RC world, and they're 7-inch tires. I don't know what brand they are. I haven't seen any markings on them, but if you could find some of these, they work awesome. Alright, next, this little mount here. My wing strut swings up, bolt goes through this hole here. This is where I mount my digital camera, and it just sits on there and points forward, kind of points just below the prop at a little bit of a downward angle. Works pretty good for doing aerial video. I guess I better show you on the wing how my struts mount. So the struts swing up. I tore the covering off right here, and in between these spars, these wings are not spars but ribs, I glued in some 1/4 inch plywood and then drilled and epoxied this 8x32 bolt down in there and put a nylock on the outside for that strut to go into. Super strong, much stronger than the original. It comes with the ARF kit, or ARF. Let's see, what would be next on this? Drop box, I already showed in my last video. I guess I can give you another view of it from inside. That's what it looks like. All this is an old interior door that my neighbor was getting rid of. So I tore it apart. These are just the door skins, the exterior, the cheap doors. It's like about 1/8 inch thick door skin. and I just cut it to fit. It's roughly 7 inches long, 4 inches wide, and 4 inches deep. So I can get a pretty good size chute or whatever in there. Moving back. Tip the plane up. Okay, with that Homelite motor being so stinking heavy, this is where I had to put my receiver battery and both of my, let's see, my rudder servos up in there, and I got 2 elevator servos, split elevator, and my rudder servos in there. I think I already said that, but and then right on this bolt here in the center, I got weights attached to that. A lot of weight, way more than I wish I had. That's to get my CG right. My plan here, or ultimate goal, is to get a DLE 30 and replace this motor. Mainly because it'll be a lot lighter. I think they're about 2 pounds lighter than what that motor weighs, which in turn would allow me to pull some of this weight out. So I'd say probably 3 pounds right there, right off the top, and have more power out of a DLE 30. So all in all, I think it'd be a wise move. Now elevator, like I said, I have split elevator. I'm using the elevator channel, and then I use a spare, which I think I used channel 6 and slaved it over for the other side of the elevator. Or no, excuse me, I don't. That's the ailerons. Elevator, I just did a Y. I did a Y. And seeing how one's on the top, and this one's on the bottom of the arm. Yeah, it's kind of hokey, but it works, and actually it works really well. The ailerons is what I had to slave a channel, only because that way I'd have flapperons. That way both wings drop down. If you didn't have flapperons, you could just put a Y on there and be fine. Since I wanted flapperons, I had to slave a channel. Next, tail wheel. This might be no, this isn't the stock one that came with it. I don't recall what brand this is. I think it's a Solifin, if I remember right. It's too light duty though. I think this is up to a 10-pound plane, and I'm pushing 15 pounds. This thing kind of bends over and kinks around when I'm running down the runway on that rough terrain. Rudder. Factory rudder is only about this wide. Well, it's okay in the air. You get okay control. But on the ground when you're taxiing, you have very little rudder control. If any of you ever had a telemaster, even with the tail wheel, you don't got real good control on the ground. So I doubled the size of my rudder, and then what I did is just a piece of thin ply, and then glued and pinned it and recovered it. Worked out really well. And doubled the size of the rudder. That was probably one of the improvements that made the biggest difference that I'm really happy with. Let's see here. Let's talk about deflection on the control surfaces. Let me change my model over. Telemaster. Okay. Okay, let me turn the plane on. Oh, my main power switch for the electronics is right here. And this is my charge port. I stuck it out, and that's how I plug in my charger. Turn that on. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is measure the deflection on the elevator. I'm going to set the camera down. I don't think I can do this without setting the camera down. And I don't know if this is even going to work. I don't think I can get it on film, but what we'll do here is measure this. Okay, right now I am at 3 3/4 to the top edge of the rudder. Full up, I'm at 5 1/8. 3 3/4, 5 1/8. So 1, 1 3/8 of deflection up. Yep, 1 3/8 deflection up. Deflection down is the same. Okay, so 1 3/8 deflection up. That's actually more than I thought. So for those of you who maybe are building these, can't forget this. On this stock ARF version of the Telemaster, the section from here back is all built up out of real thin ply and balsa in the ARF kit. It's very weak if you're rough on them like I am, bounce them across hayfields and rocks and everything else. So I made these little corner pieces of pine and put on the top, and then profiled it just to blend it all in, and painted it, glued those in. And then on the bottom, my tail wheel, this section here, broke out. So I took some 1/8" ply, started the leading edge of the tail of the stab, and went back all the way to the back, across the bottom and up the other side, encased it in 1/8" ply. Really stiffened it up. I used epoxy and really glued it in there solid. So I don't know what else to tell you. I've pretty much gone through the whole plane on everything I've done. Let's see, anything else that, there again, I'm running a 7-channel transmit or receiver, and I'm using all 7 channels right now. I couldn't add anything else if I wanted to. Fuel line I replace once a year. Going here to the tank. Other than that, if you have any questions on putting together a Telemaster, my rudder's a pull-pull. I didn't mention that. You can look right there. It's a pull-pull. You can work the servo. So there it is. And there again, it's mounted in that back hatch as well. I needed as much weight to counterbalance that heavy motor. There again, I don't know the weight. I should weigh this thing. I know I'm close to 15, 16 pounds with everything. It seems like everything I do is just add more and more weight. It takes quite a runway for me to get airborne with this plane compared to what it was when I first started flying it new. If I could throw a DLE 30 on it, or the Zenoa G26 would probably be okay. I think I'd rather have the 30 though. A little bigger prop on it. That'd knock off 2 pounds. Then I could knock off some tail weight. Probably drop 3 pounds. That would, and plus more power. That would be probably the right direction to go. So that will be a future project. The spars. Oh, I had some people asking where the CG should be on these. I actually have it marked on the ends of my wings. That black mark right there is CG. You throw a tape measure on it. So from leading edge four and a quarter. And what that is that center of my front main spar. Right here. These are oak I'd made since I took the dehedral out. I had to make new spars that were flatter and they're stronger. So there you go. If you have any questions, post them. I'll answer what I can.